How's it going, everybody? My name is Artorigold, and today I want to talk about Zarya. So this is going to be on my Smurf account, somewhere around the Masters level. So on the Smurf level of Zarya, I think one of the things you should be looking to do, especially if you're playing at a lower rank, is you basically just want to keep high energy. That's your priority. You want to stay alive, you want to be able to save your teammates when you can with your bubble. But generally in the beginning of the game, what your goal is to get that high energy. At the beginning of the game, probably use your bubble on the target that's most likely to take damage, and it's usually the bigger target. So in this case, it of course will be Reinhardt. And a lot of times you can even combine Zarya with a Hammond for the main tank, or maybe even a Winston, which could be okay, but Reinhardt definitely is more enabled by the bubble rather than the other characters, so it's a really good combination to go with a Reinhardt. And since you're both kind of slow moving and kind of, these tanks with no mobility moves, you work really well, so you guys are going to stick next to each other a lot of the time because of that. So one of the big things at the lower rank is that you definitely need to put in more individual work in order to carry your game, which is kind of what the Smurf series is all about. Basically, it's a different kind of play style that you're going to be doing instead of when you actually get to a higher level. So at the lower rank, you definitely want to be using your bubbles as aggressively as possible. You want to use your own personal barrier when you can, not to save yourself, but rather to just try and get yourself to that 80 to 100 energy. That's what you're trying to do. And as soon as you reach that, you'll notice you'll be melting people. Your damage is insane. And not only that, you're going to get your ultimate extremely quickly. And your ultimate usage is basically the biggest game knowledge factor that you need to take into consideration. For example, right there, I wanted to make sure that they died. It's very important that the enemy dies. So let's go ahead and rewatch some of this fight. So because of last fight, I won it, and I'm at a pretty decent amount of energy. I'm at 80 at the beginning of this fight. I immediately get to 100 by using one personal barrier, and I'm gonna just focus on whatever is in my range. For example, the Hammond decides to dive in deep. He goes all the way in there. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to use a bubble on the teammate that he's about to slam. I kind of was aiming for the Widow, but it works really well going on for the healers as well. And because of this, I'm able to just completely melt the Hammond. I'm at 100 energy. There's no way that I'm going to, there's no way he's going to survive from that. So here, we do have the Mei ult going on right now, but the enemy team has also committed a lot of ults too. This Graviton was okay. I'm not sure if it was necessary, but it definitely makes the fight a lot easier because they have the Transcendence that's going on. I'll be able to get the Zenyatta as soon as he's done with his Trank, and even though the Zarya is going to completely survive the Blizzard damage, the Graviton is going to enable us to kill both of them regardless. And one of the things about the Graviton, it's very easy to build another Graviton if you have high energy. Graviton can be really difficult at the beginning of the game because you're not going to be enabled, and it really is dependent on whoever you're giving the bubble to give you energy. But after you have energy, it's very easy to try and maintain it at a very high level, and at that point you can build your Graviton. Your second Graviton is always going to be much easier than your first Graviton. Your first Graviton is going to be the most difficult. Now, I do think that Graviton, although while it was kind of good, I think it was a little bit more unnecessary. So I do think I probably should have saved it for this fight, which not looking as good as the other one. We did commit a little too much ults, so I kind of put myself on the blame on that one. Although you can build a second ult pretty quickly, and there's only a minute left. As you can see, it's a minute and 15 seconds left. I think a Graviton would have been a lot better in this situation than when I used it in the last one. So here all I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get my energy back up. As soon as you die with Zarya, you have to start all over again, which is quite frustrating. Everything you do as Zarya is basically to build yourself up and ramp yourself up. Of course, once you're able to use your bubbles in a more defensive manner, that's always good. Obviously, if the enemy team has something like a pulse bomb and he tries to stick one of your teammates, you can use your barrier to block that from them, which is also a lot of value. There's some other things that you can use the bubble for. I mean, it's really good at, cleansing a purple nade off of an Ana. So if one of your teammates looks like he's about to die and he's purple, you can use your bubble to get rid of that debuff. You can also use it on someone that's about to get CC'd. For example, if a Brig is trying to stun someone, you can use a bubble on that target. It's very obvious when a Brig wants to go in for that stun. you know, she's in melee range. Is Brig, you got a little checklist here. 1, is Brig in melee range of somebody? 2, then yeah, she's gonna stun that person. I mean, that's pretty much no question. So as soon as you see Brig get up to that point, you can use your bubble on whoever she is focusing, and that is a really good way to try and stop the stun from ever happening. One of the things I would like to talk about is Diva. Now, you're not gonna kill Diva too quickly depending on your energy levels. Like in this instance, the Diva is full health and has a Lucio beat, and I only have 6 energy, so I'm not gonna kill the Diva anytime soon. But under normal circumstances, using your gun and focusing a Diva can be really beneficial. If you have high energy or just medium energy, right, you could probably have like 50 energy minimum. Anything above 50 energy is pretty good. I mean, 50 energy isn't like really high. I would say like 60 and 70 is definitely where the high energy starts, but 50 energy is also pretty good. So when you're fighting, a Diva is kind of one of your worst enemies, but also your best, like, target to attack at the same time. It's weird, right? So one of the things that you want to do is you want to be able to get the Diva out of Mech for several reasons. She has Defense Matrix, which can eat your Graviton, and that's really devastating to you as Zarya. I mean, basically everything about Zarya is her ultimate. Her ultimate is the key core. That's like the core ability, right? So if you're fighting a Diva, you really want to make sure you get enough energy that you can melt her mech. You can definitely melt Diva mechs pretty easily because their defense matrix won't stop your beam. Meaning if they are stuck there and they don't have their boosters, it's really easy for you to just sit there and melt them before they're even able to fly away. And at that point, then you can use your ultimate because you don't have to worry about the defense matrix eating the Graviton. So there's a lot of things with Diva. Focusing it might seem a little strange because, you know, it's this big tank character, but at the same time, it's really a big threat. It's not a threat, but if you have your ultimate, it is a threat. Does that make sense, right? You want to make sure your Graviton is going to be as fat as possible, and getting rid of the Diva mech, it's going to be a guarantee that your ultimate's going to be huge. So one of the things you want to look out here is you really want to watch out against Reinhardt. Now, when you think about the first thing with Reinhardt, there's a couple of different ways to use the bubbles against them. I mean, obviously, you can use your bubbles on their flame strikes, which give you about 20 energy, but at the same time, you can also do it from the melee attacks, but that's pretty dangerous. I mean, Zarya is pretty good at close range, but you don't want to get up super close range against a Reinhardt. The hammer output is a little too much for you, and you're going to feed him a shatter, which can be pretty devastating. Although you can block a shatter with a bubble, it's kind of a little bit more difficult. It's pretty much all about raw reaction speed, so it is something that you have to be a little bit more cautious about. So whenever I'm looking to gain energy, I'm really cautious about when I'm going to go against a Reinhardt. If I want to get some energy... Oh, that was really unfortunate. The ice will kind of stop the Graviton, but it does look like we're able to pump a lot of damage into him there. Anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, so you want to make sure that you can get at a medium range with Reinhardt, and you want to use your bubbles on the flame strikes in the early game, but when you use them on the melee attacks, you're playing a very dangerous game, because if you use your personal bubble, he hits you with the melee attack. Obviously, he's in close range to you, so what can he do? He can charge you, and if you don't have your personal bubble and he charges you, you'll probably die. I mean, it's pretty risky. You don't want to try and do that. It's definitely not worth the risk at all. So as you can see, now that I have high energy, even though I used the Graviton just last fight, I have so much energy right now that I'm able to get a Graviton at 80%. It's very easy to just melt people and get your Graviton back super quickly. Once you have that high energy and you're able to maintain it, Gravitons are the easiest thing in the world to get. One thing that I like about the Graviton usage here, as you can tell, the Diva doesn't even know I exist. See, you can see her, she's just looking over in this way, and if I place my Graviton here, not only do I get the main healer, I also get the off tank. So I get 2 people with this Graviton, and because the Diva is distracted, I don't have to worry about the defense matrix eating up the Graviton. So this Graviton was really good, and one of the things about it, I also ended up getting the Brig. What you want to do if you're up close and you have high energy, you want to use your right clicks more in this situation, because your right clicks are going to hit everybody. You do have to be a little bit cautious though. One of the reasons why I only did one right click is because there is a Diva, and Diva can also use Defense Matrix against your right clicks and eat that, meaning that your laser could be a lot better in those situations. Normally, just using your right clicks on a bunch of people in a Graviton is a lot more damage. It's AoE, obviously, so you're hitting all the targets rather than just with your left click beam, which only hits one target. So one of the things that you're looking to do is you want to do the right click melee. So that's one of the bigger combos of Zarya. Your melee can basically cancel the animation of the right click just about immediately. So if you're in melee range of somebody, right click melee every single time. It's very powerful. But if there's a Diva, you do need to be cautious because eating the right clicks will just be devastating. So sticking to the left click beam when there's a bunch of people inside the Graviton. I think I might have already said this before, but bubbling the main tank is usually the best because a lot of the damage is going to be going to them. Because a lot of the damage is going to be soaked onto them, and one of the things you kind of want to do is you kind of want to shift back and forth a little bit when you're doing it. Let's go back to kind of see what so you can see what I'm talking about here. So as you can see, I'm going to use my bubble on my Reinhardt immediately as it comes up. So then all the hammer swings and the Brig who's trying to stun him and do damage to him and all that stuff is going to go there, and I'm going to get maximum energy. Now, one of the things that's going to happen here is that my Reinhardt is going to be taking a lot of damage, and what your goal is going to be is you're basically going to step up in front of the Reinhardt. And so once the Reinhardt, even though he wants to use his shield, and you're giving him the energy, you're giving him the bubble. The square is the shield, by the way. So this is you, this is Zarya, and what you want to do is you want to move forward in front of the Reinhardt, then use your personal bubble so you block all of the damage and body block for your Reinhardt as soon as your bubble on the Reinhardt is gone. And you basically switch places, and then as soon as your bubble is gone, then you let the Reinhardt move forward, then you go and move behind him. That's basically your strategy. So you see here, once I get my personal bubble here in about 2 seconds, I'm going to put myself in front of the Reinhardt in order to get more energy charge. So basically, it's kind of like a little dance that you and Reinhardt have. You're going to be using your bubble on him first. A big reason for that is because you have a lower cooldown. I think it's like a 1 second less cooldown on your E, and your personal bubble has 1 more second to it. So you want to use your E first, and then you want to let that bubble duration go away, let the damage and energy kind of take its effect, and then you move forward with your personal, and you kind of just go back and forth and help each other out that way. So here I'm going to try and do damage, and as you can see, the Reinhardt shield just stops Zarya completely. You don't really do any damage to barriers. Also, one thing to take note is if there is a Brig on the enemy team, what you should be doing is not left click shooting the shields, because you don't do any damage to barriers like at all. If it's cracked and you're at 100 energy, I mean, go for it, I guess, but you just don't do that much damage. Your right clicks, however, what you want to do is you can aim them, and the AoE damage will hit the Brig, and you kind of just aim for the little corners, you know, on the side of her with the right clicks, and that's the best way to deal with a Brig and to zone her. And then, of course, when she's meleeing you, or is in melee range, you can then do your right click melee combo that we talked about earlier. So I'm gonna go ahead and just focus down those right clicks on the Brig, and as you can see, it's not gonna like kill her, but it's gonna boop her in positions that she doesn't want to be in. And here we're just gonna do the combo. So one of the big things with Zarya, of course, is the combo. So I guess I'll go over quickly what the best things for Zarya Graviton are, and that would be Hanzo's Dragon Strike. No question is probably the best thing for Graviton. It can be countered by a Zenyatta Transcendence, but it's also very easy nowadays to just out damage the Transcendence by having a Reinhardt just using Flame Strike or Fire Strike, whatever it's called, and just use your melee attacks, and you basically just kill them that way. Or even Ana can land some really fat purple nades, which can stop it as well. Some other decent combos, you can use Doomfist Ultimate, you can use Pulse Bomb, even though Pulse Bomb is a lot weaker and it's not going to do that well against the tanks. You can combine it with Sombra's EMP, which is also really devastating. And if you have a really good Diva, she could put the Mech Bomb onto the Graviton, which is huge too. Also, that the movement that you're seeing right here, what something any Zarya can do, you just use a right click on your feet and you jump and you can move up in the air a little bit and it gives you some pretty good momentum. It's a good way to get back to like wherever you need to be a little bit quicker. And you can also get to high ground spots on certain maps that are pretty interesting as well. And the reason why that's also an effective strategy is because you have 200 shields, meaning that you do regen your health, so you don't have to worry about that too much. But also it means that it's pretty devastating against Sombras. Sombras can give you a pretty tough time, because then you go down to 200 HP and you don't have a shield, so yeah, you gotta be careful with Sombra. So, in summary, you want to make sure you use your bubbles in the early game as much as possible. Use it on people who need it, people who are taking a lot of damage. You basically just want to use it to get your energy so you can start building that graviton as quickly as possible, and then you want to focus on not dying. I know you never want to die, but you really need to focus on it, because as soon as you die, you have to get your energy all over again, and that is devastating, and it really slows down your damage output as well as your progress towards a graviton. So really, you have that 200 shields, which can regen on its own, so even if you don't have like too much healing, you can just back off and let the shields recover themselves. So in a way, it's kind of like healing. So focus on doing that, use your gravitons on all the healers as you can, try to make sure to watch out for deflect and defense matrix, and other than that, you'll be doing great. Zarya's very strong right now, and it works great with most tanks, so yeah, go out there and play some Zarya. I'm sure you'll climb some SR. Anyways, that's it for today, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.